So I finally finished the Haikyuu anime, and with that, I had the hard choice that comes with whenever you finish the anime, and that is deciding who my favourites of the cast are. For me, the two characters that occupy the top spot come as a pair, them being the duo of Tendo and the topic of today's video, Wakatoshi Ushijima. What initially drew me to Ushijima was his obvious size and stature compared to a lot of the other members of the cast. He's a very imposing figure and that matches the aura he brings to the table. I expect him to be an antagonist in the way that you can have an antagonist in Haikyuu. Ushijima fills the role and is a very interesting antagonist, especially when compared to Oikawa, the person who filled a similar role in season 2. He's just a really damn good volleyball player. He doesn't try to get under people's skin and manipulate them or get on their nerves to throw them off during a match. Oikawa had a history with Kageyama and Karasuno, but Ushijima is just so good that all of Miyagi wants to beat him. He doesn't have personal issues with other teams. He seems to be caught up on Oikawa going to Abayosai, but he's just looking at that from a logical point of view. He has clearly worked insanely hard to get to the point of being in the top 3 spikers in the nation. So while he is a genius that Oikawa hates, his skills are second to none, with only his blocking not being highlighted as top tier. I did expect him to be lacking in some other aspect aside from spiking, that one weak part of his game, but he really just is a genius player who's skilled all round. I remember Tendu saying that Karasuno didn't beat Ushijima, and he's right. They managed to use total defense to give him a fighting chance to counter, then he stuffed him once after a setter's mistake. He still scored a barrage of points. Ultimately it came down to the better 6 and Karasuno was able to score more points in the offense than the rest of Shiratazawa. I like his character. In a lot of shows you'd have the final boss being super arrogant and learning not to underestimate the underdog. But it's not that simple here. Ushijima may not have been ignorant towards Hinata's potential, yes, but he's still a teenager who finds it annoying to see a kid who doesn't even match up to Hoshimi challenge him. He wants to shut down what seemed like a baseless confidence, but he never says anything out of malice. He's just very, very blunt. He's not a man of many words, and when he does talk, he comes across, as I just mentioned, pretty blunt, but it's not with ill intent. He means well, and it's not something that hinders his relationship with his teammates. He does seem to get along with all of his teammates, and he's seen encouraging them on multiple occasions. But his closest relationship is obviously with Tendo. They have a lot of contact on and off the court. Eye contact, friendly gestures like a hand on the shoulder, etc. They talk a lot, and Tendo seems interested in what's going on in Ushijima's mind. Like we've seen when he asked Ushijima why he started playing volleyball in the first place, and as well when he's trying to figure out why he doesn't like Hinata. It might seem a little one-sided with Tendo being so expressive and Ushijima being more reserved, but it's not. After all, Ushijima explicitly borrows Tendo's words. He really does open up to Tendo, and they share one of my favourite scenes in the series with them after the match against Karasuno, where Tendo admits he probably won't take volleyball far, but he wants Ushijima to push himself to be the best. Ushijima is someone who's allowed to act like he's all that because he is. He's allowed to be up himself because it's in his nature. He's just being honest. He knows he's amazing, so he doesn't care about acting it. I find it kind of endearing that he's like that. Like, if he was really humble, it would seem almost patronising. Like he's trying to comfort those without talent, that they don't need the opportunities he's had. For me, the most inspirational part of Ushijima's story is the fact that his father told him a story when he was younger about an ace who never disappointed his team or the spectators whenever someone set the ball to him. And all those years later, he has all but become the new version of that former ace. It was noticeable that when his father told the story, his father made a point to say that this individual was so outstanding, not just because he had a great physique, but because you could depend on him. His team had absolute trust in him. He made games exciting because you knew he could get the kill no matter what, as long as you set it to him. These phrases are almost verbatim to how all of the characters around Ushijima describe him. Ushijima has so completely lived up to the player he wanted to become as a child in every possible way. There's an interesting parallel with Hinata in a sense too. Hinata essentially also started his volleyball career by modelling his player traits to a figure he found aspirational, mainly the Little Giant. He admired the Little Giant's amazing vertical and agility, his ability to overcome his height and become the ace of this team. Just like Ushijima admired that unnamed ace's ability to always get the kill and become the person his team trusted the most. They're not so unlike one another in that map. I personally find Ushijima endearing as hell. I love that despite how he comes across to opponents, all looming and critical, all the third years of his own team pretty much call him by his first name. They all hang out and eat lunch together, Tendo even nags him about his family and he never gets annoyed. He openly smiles with them. He's not too big to apologise when he makes mistakes during a game. He shows some real subtle but nice sportsmanship to Suki when Suki is injured from blocking his spike. He seems like someone who really respects the game, respects the hard work people put into it, and he's just an athlete's athlete.